Welcome to another episode of Cloud Unplugged. We have our usual stories in the news, the tech stories. We have the AI summit that's just happened in London and all the latest news from there, of which there seems to be many. I won't call out the specifics just yet. The big China data leak, 631 gigabytes of data, personal data, got found and leaked. OpenAI start signing deals with Google because they need more compute, and the new exoskeleton by Wandercraft has started to get rolled out more officially with some more investment to help people with disabilities move better and walk about. Lewis, what's the latest with you?
What's the latest with me? What did we do at the weekend? Oh, I bought an action cam because I'm going on holiday. We finalised our holiday to Turkey, and there's some great water. And my last action cam got scratch lenses, so I thought, oh, you only live once, YOLO.
So can you not use your Pixel? Does that not do that?
You need to get like a waterproof case, and I used to have an Insta360 thing. Oh, product placement. Whoops. And it was great. And so I got the latest one of those because it's even greater and you can replace the lenses now. So
I remember you using your Google Pixel and being super chuffed about how amazing it's going to be underwater.
Yeah.
And it did work and you had all the amazing videos, but then it corroded.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
And then wouldn't charge or something.
Yeah, it worked underwater, but in salt water, famously, won't work for long.
Yeah, so that was a bit of a faux pas, wasn't it? Of the
yeah,
well, a bit of a miss-sell, I think, a bit of a misrepresentation. I'm pretty sure in their adverts they are scuba diving and all kinds of things and high-fiving or whatever they. I could be making it up just because of all the adverts that you kind of watch. But all right, so you're going to Turkey and you've invested in a new action cam.
Yeah.
I don't really know what an action cam is, but I'm guessing obviously
it's a 360 camera, so it's got two like.
You also have a GoPro though. You had a GoPro snowboarding.
No, it was an Insta360 then, a really old one, which I scratched the lenses up. So I've replaced it.
What, snowboarding? Going through trees and things like that?
Weirdly, it wasn't snowboarding because it had plenty of jobs. You know, I dunked it in the snow. I did cartwheels and all sorts with it. But this time, I don't know, it was actually on a remote attached to a remote control car on a stony beach, and it rolled over and just scratched both lenses.
No. Oh well. Why would you?
Why would you do that?
Also, were the people that were sunbathing on the beach aware that you were going up and down the beach with a remote control car with a camera? Right. Okay.
On Greenwich Beach, no one else there.
On your own? Were you on your own with a camera?
No, I was with my son. It was about 3 years ago. So he was younger and appreciated the camera a whole lot more on the car.
Yeah, note to self. Maybe don't attend that beach if you're worried about your privacy, because Lewis is going up and down it with a remote control car filming you. That's all I can say.
I can do it again now with protection on the lenses. No, anyway, moving on. How about yourself? Anything?
I have family at the moment, and we are going to France tomorrow. Nice. So, but early in the morning. I mean, we're all get up early anyway, but going to do the Eurotunnel and go over there and then drive. Luckily, sharing the drive. I've done it before on my own. I think I came all the way from Spain, and it was like 16 hours drive or something insane that I did in one fell swoop, which I'd never repeat ever again because I thought it was literally. I think I might have cried whilst I was driving.
I love it. I used to drive all the way to Austria every year for about 10 years. And Amy came along a few times, but she's like you. I don't know about crying, but she certainly doesn't relish the idea anymore. So
you try to make out a melodramatic. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, I mean, I still go. I often go with my mate Chris. We drive down in his transporter van that he takes down, so he's got there for the family. So we drive one way, but it really doesn't bother me. You zone out. You see a lot of different places.
It's not, honestly, the driving is not the problem per se. It is something with the foot action. causing me to get sciatica. So in my hip,
Ah,
happens on my right, obviously, because you're using the pedal on my right foot most of the time, up and down with the accelerator. And I don't know what happens. It's not a very interesting story, but it like slowly I start to get like pain down my leg to the point where I start to like actually can't really feel my foot. I don't know. I mean, don't know why. Maybe I'm just not very supple. But anyway, probably should get it looked at. Maybe I need the Wandercraft exoskeleton to help me in my car when I drive. But yeah,
maybe.
on to the stories. The UK government's announcements, because we've had the Tech London 2025 AI summit happening. There have been quite a few things going on there, quite a few different announcements. Um, they've obviously done a big hurrah on this 1 billion investment in high performance computing, otherwise abbreviated to HPC, when people refer to that. Edinburgh, I think, has announced that they're going to get 750 million to kind of be invested in AI development. And then NVIDIA announced some announcements to support that 1 billion investment, but also announced having some UK sovereign AI forum with like BT and others. And then there was other stories around like Copilot getting rolled out for Barclays Bank in the UK, and Google doing things in government for like house planning. You know, if you want to kind of make changes to your house, getting planning approval or building new buildings in the UK and simplifying that and automating that as much as possible to make informed decisions, and all these things, all these amazing things. And I think does it finish tomorrow? I think it finishes tomorrow.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what do you think about it all? Do you think this is like we're the new China? Do you think we are the new US? We are the
I
big
think
dog
that's
in AI?
geopolitically. There's a lot of money in the hills that people can see, and they want to align themselves with a lot of new business. And historically, I think the UK is in a bit of a sweet spot. I think that's the interview that that our PM had with the CEO of NVIDIA, talking about how the Google DeepMind co-founders and how a lot of excellence in the field. Jeffrey Hinton, the godfather of AI, some people refer to him as inventing transformers. There's a lot of history in the UK with regards to AI. So, yeah, I think that's one lens to put it through, and it means that there are DeepMind HQs here, and there's a lot of talent coming through. But I think the government wanting to get further investment using those credentials to bolster UK PLC. It makes a lot of sense. But I think the tech companies also see that we have a talent pool. And I don't know, they're going around everywhere though, geopolitically. They're now in France doing the same.
Yeah, they are, yeah.
So it's, I don't know if we're unique, but certainly a move to make sure that we have access to the latest models to accelerate our own government initiatives, but also we get jobs by having massive data centers and sovereign AI inference running locally. So I don't know. I think it's just a scramble across the world in all directions for all players, really.
Yeah, I think though, I mean, obviously economically we haven't been doing great. Our growth has been pretty. I mean, we did grow a tiny bit. I think it was 0.5 on the GDP or something. So there's been a bit of a struggle on economic growth in the UK in general. So I think they obviously seeing this as like I think a few things. They're obviously seeing that can we get investment in place? I guess the investment especially with this technology, because it's a bit more revolutionary, also could potentially not just make lots of money, through additional companies and other initiatives, but also optimize the government to reduce their costs. So it's a double win, I think, on the type of tech, like how much of an enabler it is to other things, not just on pure growth, but also savings. So obviously that made a lot of sense. And like, right, let's really get on the bandwagon and start to invest. But they've also tried to remove all of the bottlenecks for data centers, which I kind of found was a bit ironic on the Google's initiative of making planning approval really easy for buildings, at the same time that you need data center buildings to be going up so you can build new data centers, and also relaxing a lot of the hurdles on those things that kind of get in the way where they can't get approval. But also there was an announcement on basically, what was it, nuclear energy plant getting agreed, I think.
Sizewell C, I think, is going to get the go-ahead.
It's going to get the go-ahead, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is also
massive.
All linked to the same type of thing, energy for the data centers, clean energy, etc., etc. So, but what was interesting was that kind of currently there wasn't huge amounts of beyond NVIDIA, and then Microsoft obviously their own general investment, same as Amazon and Google do. They obviously got data centers here. It wasn't like a big push I noticed from US firms outside of NVIDIA on those investments, which I thought was a little bit interesting, which has been going on in other places like Switzerland, which obviously we spoke about before. But then I think they're wanting the sovereignty element and the question on whether they have enough compute to basically train their own models to then remove reliance on the US because basically essentially you're going to need like insane scale for more complex and larger model sets, which I still don't believe on the amount of compute that we're aiming for is still quite enough for the very, very large model. So you'd still need to go to the US or EU data centers, despite the amount of GPU. So I think it only works for certain model sizes. Depends on how big the model is going to be in the data set, essentially, what the training, deep learning basically that needs to go on. So I'm not sure if it's actually going to be enough compute overall, but we'll see on the investment for the amount of training. Who knows? I'm not sure. I'm not an expert on.
Yeah, I don't know how much training versus inference and what the divide is on these investments. Whether it's just local inference or Google. I mean, I'd imagine they have a lot of tensor hardware in the UK for their own purposes, for training for Google DeepMind, because that's where all the people are. But I don't know. You can get things run wherever they are. They don't need to necessarily be low latency for training.
But I think that's the thing.
They can be wherever the training happens.
So they don't want to use Google. That was the point.
Exactly.
I think.
So because
it's a US company, so I don't think it just seems again geopolitical. I don't think they want to be using Microsoft or Amazon or Google.
So they'll use NVIDIA instead to set up data centers.
Well,
so they'll be using someone. Yeah,
they will, but that's compute. That isn't the services that are wrapping all of that compute, right? So it's very different.
Having local models, local training, and local hosting for inference all makes sense. Who exactly has the expertise, and whether we have enough local expertise for all of the stack? Yeah,
well, that's it, isn't it? I guess that's why I think it was interesting, because the bit I noticed was there isn't a service wrap around this compute, which then makes you feel like, okay, well, this is very much geopolitical then, because you don't want almost the service wrap, because then how do you really trust? It's all a bit kind of disguised by the services of, beneath the compute. You're not really using the raw compute directly. So they're like, no, we kind of want to use the raw compute and we can kind of trust it and we know, and then we can just train our own. Well, that's how it felt a little bit. And why they're not leveraging existing investments that are in the UK for that.
I mean, as you know, like even just tying together a load of compute in a data center, having a service wrap of some sort, and APIs, and dare I say, a cloud abstraction, like it. Without that, it's almost impossible to do any sort of running anyway. So, yeah.
But God, I'm like,
interesting.
What a boring like thing, though, isn't it? A little bit data center. I feel like we're like back to like early 2000s almost, or like mid to early 2000s, about data centers and like what the hell is going? We're like backwards but forwards all at the same time, backwards and forwards, all in parallel. Interesting.
I mean, it shows like the CoreWeave, value proposition is very real. Even the cloud vendors scaling up massive compute for AI is similar but a bit different. It's different chips on different size nodes with different requirements. So typically you'd have a different whole cabinet stack, and that means specialization and
if you're in energy, I mean, like, this is what it's going to be like, the nationalization of energy, would be like a key move, I would say, right now, by obviously Gov, because or if you want to invest money, investing in energy is probably like going to be, one or the other, whether it's nationalized or whether you're investing, it feels like that is going to be the key linchpin, obviously, on all of this in the end.
When the UK has said that, it is our government current policy to, or at least it was talked about a lot. I don't know if it's the now exacting happening. Ed Miliband talks a lot. They're putting solar panels on roofs at last for new builds. Like, okay, finally. But getting the right amount of power nationalised and allowing UK population to benefit from these things in the future, and AI included, seems rational. It seems, you just need to look at Norway. Yeah, well, you just need to look at Norway to see how much like a sovereign wealth fund can be like valuable for their population in the future. I was watching something with Simon Reeve. He did a great series on it really recently, and they now make more money from their sovereign wealth fund, which is the biggest, if not by one, sovereign wealth fund in the world, and they now make more money than they spend. So literally, for all their national health, for all of their education, all the way up to degree level, it's all free and it's all inclusive in the state, and it's all fully paid for, and they're literally making more money than they've got.
Honestly, that is insane. Like, those 8 Norwegians that are there. I mean, how have they managed to support?
I think there's 10 now. I think there's 10 people.
Okay. But how on earth they've managed to support those 10 people in Norway with all that investment? It beggars belief. Impossible.
Well,
groundbreaking.
It's a bit sarcastic.
That was very sarcastic. Apologies to
But
Norway.
no, I mean, literally, the inflection point in the UK and Norway had the same access to the North Sea at the same time, and were both investing. We sold it to private companies. They kept it nationalised.
Yeah, 100%.
And they invested it all, and we didn't.
Slowly removed the crutches that we had into privatized companies who...
let's see if there's a better way forward from now.
But let's talk, which is a bit more exciting, I feel. I mean, not to dismiss the UK and some of the great announcements of AI, but it's like, it's a lot of news that's a bit repetitive. But this I found super interesting, which is obviously this personal data getting leaked. And it wasn't like a small amount. This is what's a bit insane about it. It's huge data set.
Absolutely insane. Yeah.
So like 631 gigabytes of data, Chinese personal information, basically. And it was in an old MongoDB. But weirdly, in MongoDB, with no password, not encrypted, and on the internet, like, and it had like WeChat. So basically user details, so 805 million records, WeChat records, user detail records. It had 780 million residential addresses in there. It had bank statements, 630 million bank statements, Alipay records, IDs, phone numbers, usernames, messaging data, vehicle registration, pensions, gambling habits, like everything was in there, which kind of makes sense for China as a bit of a surveillance data, I think, is potentially what the hunch is there. But yeah, wowzers, what do you think?
It is staggering. Like and I guess it's the flip side danger of centralizing everything. I mean, in China, you can't use their trains. You can't be a foreign national without registering your passport. You can't pay for things without passport. You can't access Wi-Fi. It's illegal to access Wi-Fi without your password identification details. So, they're all centrally stored. Their firewall itself springing a leak. Like, is this at the perimeter? It needs to have that session detail of who you're logged on with before you're allowed out of the internet. So if you're accessing the wider internet, it's all traceable. And therefore, those records are centrally available. And yeah, I don't know. It's if you stick everything in one place, then there is that danger. But with it comes great power. I mean, the social controls are absolute. No one misbehaves in China. But
Yeah,
you could lose everything. Like, I don't know. Maybe my details are in there because of my trip last year.
oh, you were in there, yeah, you were actually
Yeah.
in there, and
You checked the records. Nice.
I did, yeah, I checked the records, and yeah, I mean, it was a bit shocking, some of the gambling habits that you've got, the criminal
Actually,
records that you managed to hide from us.
I did use an eSIM which had a VPN outside of the perimeter. It's very weird
we
that
know.
China allows you. So all phones, it's illegal to have an unlocked phone in China unless you're a foreign national. And then if you are a foreign national, you can connect via a place in Hong Kong or one of the other providers that kind of gives you access without the Great Firewall. Because otherwise, all your services at home stop working. You can't use WhatsApp, you can't use Google, you can't log on to Google Maps, you can't use your email, you can't, literally nothing works. So they're kind of saying, oh yeah, we'll allow foreign nationals through with eSIMs, but we won't allow those phones to be used by nationals.
Crazy.
I don't know. I don't know what it says. It's a complete so whether it's a disaster or whether it's advertising, I don't know.
I thought it
What
might
do
have
you
been a
think?
honey trap. Well, at first I was like, that sounds a bit suspect. Was it like a honey trap? And then kind of did a little bit of digging to see if there was any signs of a honey trap in there, like telemetry or basically monetization stuff. Was there malware or anything calling home or any signs of anything in there? There's nobody also, claiming to own that data or claiming to have hacked that data or, so there's no announcement of anything either. So, and I was like, oh, maybe it's like foreign intelligence. Maybe they'll see how the data gets used and by who it gets used by. And are people going to start contacting people in this data where they've deliberately put certain information in it to see how what tools get used, how they'll sift through that data, how they'll identify actors, i.e., maybe fake actors that look useful to foreign intelligence, and then see that we then reach out to those people and what we then do to those people. And I thought that just seems a little bit, maybe possibly correct. But then I think then, given all the other information, I just think it was an accident. I think like you're saying, I think they're so locked down and secure. There is all this data, surveillance data, like you're saying, and someone just basically fucked up. I think they just put the data on, didn't secure it, didn't lock it down, and provisioned something, and boom, it was on the old webs and got spotted.
Did you find out any of the details for where it was actually hosted, what provider, or whether it's just
Uh,
entirely private government data
yeah, Alibaba
center?
Cloud.
Or was it?
Hmm.
Ouch.
Yeah, and
So,
a L Marshall username attached to it
yeah,
as
it's
well.
weird
Yeah,
that. I don't know. I don't
apparently
know who that
Cursor had
is. That
somebody asked
guy.
somebody was chatting to
Someone,
Cursor and asked it to get a
yeah,
database
they put cursor
provision.
in Euro mode and thought, wow, this is brilliant. It will call all the
Mm,
tools automatically, and I won't need to approve them all, and then it will get my work done quicker.
yeah,
But
that's what they could see. There was like some AI talking to Alibaba Cloud called L Marshall. But yeah,
I mean, the WeChat and Alipay records, like 806 million records, 780 million residential addresses, 630 bank details. I mean, 630 million bank details. I mean, like, what does that even mean? Does that mean there's like 500 million people plus that now have to change their credit detail? I mean, they don't have credit cards in China. It's a bit different. It's kind of all WeChat and Alipay. And if you're not on either of those, you can't really buy anything because it's all QR codes based to those
mm,
platforms. So it might be short, short-lived tokens only, and it might, the bank details might not be usable. I don't know. It's
I
interesting.
honestly,
That's the
I'm
difference.
yeah, I don't, I mean, yeah, I think like we're saying, I think mostly probably is surveillance data.
Hmm.
It's happened before though. So the Shanghai police data got leaked. They had a database issue then in 2022. Same thing. They basically just didn't secure things properly. I think because sometimes if you are so perimeter based, you can't get in or out, and that's your security model. Then everything inside maybe you're a little bit more lackadaisical with it because you're like, oh well, you can't get
It's
in or out.
inside the firewall. It's quite a big
Yeah,
firewall.
yeah, exactly. It's like that mentality though, isn't it? I'm like,
uh,
well, I feel like we're already secure, so we should be all right. No one can get in or out. So
we're tracking everybody in here,
yeah,
so it's fine.
yeah, it's fine. Um, the last one, I'm not gonna even talk too much about the OpenAI one, the Google one, just for time because I think it's pretty. They needed more compute. They signed a deal with Google. We don't know how much. Pretty, you know, just trying
They're
to rid the
using
world of
CoreWeave.
GPUs, and
Yeah,
they're
they're
using
using CoreWeave,
CoreWeave.
and now they're
Yeah,
using Google as well. They'll probably use a bit of Amazon soon, or already
probably use a
are.
bit of Amazon. Yeah, but there's been like a Series D on Watercraft, which is basically Wandercraft, which is basically the exoskeleton-based company, robotics company as well. And I have Eve, which is like a self-balancing personal exoskeleton. So you can like control it with joysticks or like wrist based or on a device if you're with somebody. So it's to help people that basically have maybe spinal issues, can't walk, like paraplegics, and it can walk for you. I don't know exactly how it works, but put legs in, you put your body in, and obviously it creates the movement on your behalf. But they're saying actually is very good um, for rehabilitation purposes. And also just for circulation and joints and all these other things. So actually, it's quite cool. Then they've also got this humanoid robot called Calvin 40. I think maybe for doing dangerous tasks, like biohazard situations or whatever, where you can use this humanoid robot, kind of based on the same technology. But yeah, I thought it was really cool. Don't know what you think about it. I just thought it
I,
was like
I
quite a cool little story.
Yeah, I watched the video. I mean, there's been self-balancing stuff for a long time, but getting the software to drive it sensibly, it can. They've had balancing for a while, but like getting a user to clinically be
Mm,
allowed to use such a precarious, potentially two-legged thing um, in real-world scenarios, the fact that it's going through clinical trials and real people will be using it,
real
and
people, yeah.
they'll be vulnerable people. I mean, it will either be elderly or injured people, or people with disabilities, and that means, yeah, they really obviously need it to work, and it's got to be safety critical. So it's brilliant that
I think
progress is
it's
happening, and I think it's
so cool.
tangential with the AI type of progress
Yeah.
that means nowadays you can infer with low enough power that you can do useful things on devices, like balancing in a critical way.
Yeah.
I think that it's just shows the synergies between like the real societal benefits of this tech. Can get old, but don't need to have maybe in the future you won't have wheelchairs, because like
Yeah, you'd
why would
just be
you have a
walking
wheelchair?
about.
Because you'd want to stand up, you'd want to be at like normal height, you'd want to. Yeah, I don't know. It's absolutely fascinating. I'd really want to see a bit more. I was rooting around quickly as the episode started. You might have noticed, trying
Wow.
trying to
There's-
find the tech behind their particular devices, because I mean there's been a whole bunch of startups and companies in the space of sensing intent from muscle nerves,
yeah, I was
with
reading about that. Yeah.
wrist cuffs or cuffs, so you can train to send the intent and pick up the very faint signals on a whole bunch of nerve endings without an invasive,
We also have
connection
Neuralink
through the skin.
as well, like the
That,
Neuralink advancements, which is basically now
that,
you can literally control things through your mind, which is
yeah,
insane. And I evidenced that with the Neuralink, as in I think in the latest launches, the progression has been. Like, I thought it was like, yeah, whatever, all bit crazy. What a crazy
oh no,
idea!
no.
But
I
actually,
follow the guy Nolan,
insane.
who's had it as the first patient, but there's a couple now, and like that shows the ultimate end result of a paraplegic or somebody who's had a spinal injury could potentially be cured in the future.
Yeah, with the
The
combination of all these different things, you think actually you can really
it's
see.
yeah, I mean the robots being used in clinical settings to add implants to humans so that they can have the bandwidth to use robotic parts. So it's all it's all gaining momentum and adding a lot, and people being able to train or use exoskeletons or go to unsafe areas or train robots so that they can learn what a human would be doing with ultra low latency, without a weird setup, and learn very quickly before then being self-taught and learning in virtual environments. All that it all relates and
It does.
benefits.
I'm looking forward to becoming the new Tony Stark of Avenger-based, flying around in your suits, you know, lasers, zooming about in your rocket suit
I
up
think,
into
yeah,
space, and
yeah, you're a bit of a
what? What?
you know
Sorry, what am I? What am I,
you,
Lewis? Go
you
on.
could
What am I?
pull off a, what's his name? It's Iron Man. You could pull
Yeah,
off an Iron
Tony
Man, I
Tony
reckon.
Stark is his
Is
Iron Man. Yeah, yeah.
Iron Man is the
I'm pretty
super
sure that wasn't what
person
you wanted
persona.
to say, but of what I am. But yeah,
Paranoid. No,
paranoid,
no, no.
paranoid. Alright, yeah. But anyway, that is all of the news. As usual, been fun and interesting. Well, not like we're gonna blow our own trumpets, but we just did. But yeah, hopefully we shall speak to you next time in the next episode. I'll be in France, or may skip it. I'll have to see how things go. So we may have to skip next week, but hopefully not. I'll take my stuff to France and hopefully we can record one.
Keep in touch. Have a good holiday, and
Will
yeah,
do.
we'll pick up if we do the episode.
Cool. Adios. See you
Bye.
later.